and welcome to Pop Culture Problems, where Josh Nichols throws down against John Odermann in the versus battle of the century, etc.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, oh, I'm sorry. Hey,
I didn't know that. I didn't know we were battling today.
Well, it's kind of a battle royale, but it's not a big deal. It's just a little throwdown. Because today we're talking about versus, like things versus things, and you and I think are going to disagree on some things. So I can just imagine we're going to be our own verses. Because I kind of feel like we debate.
The John and Josh is one of those storied rivalries throughout history.
Oh, yeah. Like,
or at least through podcast history.
Well, it used to be. I mean, now that everybody knows that I'm better and they pick me over you, I mean, we have a clear winner. But it used to be a heated battle because of how we look the same. We're so dashingly handsome.
I understand that you want to, I mean, you're talking some trash right now. You're trying to get me off my game, but we'll see. We'll see how this pans out.
You have to have game to get off game.
Oh.
Bazinga.
Bazinga.
You know, certain things you can say and certain things you can't.
Yeah.
Just in the context of it. Anyway, John, here's the thing. There's some big things that have always been like
debated
rivalries.
Forever. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that either one is bad, but people get so incensed and so infuriated by the fact that something else exists that someone likes more than what they like.
That's similar to what they like.
Yeah, and they just can't handle. And so they make it where that other thing, that opposing viewpoint, is the worst thing on the planet. Pepsi versus Coke, Star Trek versus Star Wars, Disney and Pixar. I mean, there's just so many of the examples of things that are versus each other. And my question is it okay? Is that a healthy rivalry? Or should we all just live and let live? Or is it all, playful fun?
Absolutely not. You do not live and let live. You fight to your last breath.
For Pepsi versus Coke?
Pepsi versus Coke. You fight over Disney versus Pixar, and Disney won that battle.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, when you buy the other one out, I mean, it's kind of like I guess you didn't really win, but they're in control now.
Well, I mean, but in that way, you can say that Disney won everything. I mean,
that's true.
Disney won Star Wars versus Star Trek.
Yes.
Technically, because they own everything. Yeah. So here's the thing, though. I am a little bit more of a. I don't necessarily think one thing is better than another because I like it better. I try to be a little bit more objective. So I'll give you an example. There was a string of movies that came out back in the 90s, and there was Armageddon, there was Deep Impact, there was Asteroid, and made-for-TV movie Meteor.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, Armageddon was the best of those movies.
Okay.
It was, I thought,
I think that's
the most
a fair
well
assessment.
done. I think that it had the better cast, and not necessarily all-star, but just better quality. And so I think that was a better movie. Deep Impact, I think, struggled more. I didn't care for the plot. It was kind of a weird set and ending. And I think they kind of...
Well, you didn't have the Aerosmith soundtrack.
But
that was the big thing there.
They were like building the ark kind of a thing, and it was kind of a weird... I don't know. It just didn't fit. Then the other ones were very like made-for-TV, low-budget, B-movie kind of quality. So, like, in that instance, I look at them and I'm not like, ooh, it's either Deep Impact versus Armageddon. I'm thinking, like, the quality of this one is so much better. Star Trek and Star Wars, as an example, and I'm going to probably get heat for this, I don't really watch either of them that much. I mean, I've seen a little bit of each. But I don't think either of them are bad. I think they're both probably good productions.
Well, and I actually was just... I happen to be a football coach, and I was actually debating this with some of my football players this last week, and I said... In a lot of ways, Star Wars and Star Trek are very... I don't see them as super comparable because I think their genres are different. I think Star Trek is hard sci-fi. Star Wars is more of like a fantasy genre type of thing.
It does. For reasons of this argument, though, my argument is because there is a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that rivalry is necessary or even founded because... both shows are not bad. I mean, it's not like you're comparing quality. So, if, for instance, it was Star Wars and then like a fake knockoff ripoff of Star Wars that had lower quality effects and worse actors and stuff, like that would be a quality concern. This is like a personal preference.
Yeah, I think what you get into, and because I have to admit, I'm a fan of both. I might lean a little bit more towards the Star Wars side of things, but. I mean, if Star Trek is on, I mean, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Trek is and you have to really kind of compare because Star Trek has had a TV show and movies. So I think you kind of have to delineate it there too, because Star Wars really hasn't had the long string of television. I mean, they've had the animated series and stuff, but they've never had like a live action television show. So I think you have to kind of compare the movies to the movies.
Well, but you're also not comparing quality because you like them both. But you're saying I might lean towards the Star Wars, but at the same time you're saying, well, it's a little bit more fantasy, and maybe you lean more towards that than you do.
Exactly, and you know, I think it depends on, if you're a fan of both, it really kind of depends on your mood. I think possibly lean towards Star Wars being a little bit of a preference for me, though.
Quality wise, or are you saying it's better quality?
Yeah. See, that's a tough question, because Star Trek is some of the best hard sci-fi that's out there. I mean, Star Trek has some great science fiction themes. There's a lot of things in Star Trek from the 60s on the television show that have kind of become like commonplace in our lives, and it's really cool. And Star Wars, we're not walking around with laser swords yet. So I mean, Star Trek it does have kind of like that cool science fiction feel to it. That there's a lot of things that they were doing on Star Trek that was supposed to be said in the future that we're doing now, like with being able to talk on our phones and touchpad screens and stuff like that.
Every time I go to the supermarket,
yeah,
I just see the doors open and close, and I think Star Trek, Star Wars. I mean, all of those things. That's what I think. Because I don't know much about them, so
So you think Star Trek every time you walk into the?
No, I think of food every time I walk into the supermarket. So no. Okay, so that's a little bit more complicated because I think there's a lot of factors. Is it the same genre? Is it the same? There's so many different aspects to it. So let's take the simpler one: Pepsi versus Coke. That is literally a taste bud challenge, is it not?
No. Coke is better.
Okay.
Coke is better.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna.
Although Pepsi does have the better green beverage.
Yeah. Okay. And
Mountain Dew.
Okay, but here's the thing, John. Okay, so I'm going to give you my personal example.
Okay.
So I'm a diet drinker because it makes me feel better about all the fat I intake. Okay. So I was an avid Diet Coke drinker.
Okay.
That's my drink. That's what I would get. And one of the reasons I like Diet Coke better, I think I like the flavor a little better, but it also, to me, stays fizzier longer. I can open a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke, and it's going to retain the fizz more than Diet Pepsi. It seems like that would just go away. So that was a factor for me. But recently, I bought some Diet Pepsi. I have some Diet Pepsi sitting over here right now because it was a little bit of a change in flavor. It was a variation. It's like, watching Star Trek on a weekend instead of Star Wars.
Trying to mix it up.
Trying to mix it up a little. And it's not, neither of them are bad, but it's like a taste bud challenge. It's like a personal preference. Okay, so you differ. Tell me, debate me, clown. Go.
Well, I feel like Pepsi just simply isn't as good. And if I had a glass of Pepsi in front of me and a glass of Coke in front of me, I could take sips of each, and I could tell you what the difference is. But I think that maybe Pepsi, the taste just isn't as sharp as Coke.
Well, here's the thing. Of course you can tell the difference. You have a palate that can distinguish the difference between two flavors relatively easily. And I don't think that you're unskilled when it comes to
I feel like you're
food.
just tearing me down now.
No, you're not unskilled.
As opposed to addressing my argument, which is I don't think Pepsi is as it doesn't have as sharp or as strong of a taste as
Okay. But you are not unskilled when it comes to food. I'm complimenting you.
Okay, thank you.
You have a refined palate, I think, as do I. The thing is it's a personal preference of taste. What's your favorite cheese?
I really like the pepper jacks, the habaneros.
Okay. Why not brie? Why not gorgonzola? Why not manchego? Why not any of those? Is it? I mean, do you have an unrefined palate? Is it wrong? I mean, you can't really say this cheese is better than that cheese necessarily. It's about what you personally like. Growing up, I was never really rich. Velveeta was cheese to me. I don't think there's any cheese in Velveeta,
so
but it's delicious.
Josh, gun to your head. Pepsi or Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
Okay. So obviously you have a preference.
I have a preference, but what I'm saying is it's not a quality issue. It's a personal taste preference. And I think sometimes it's what you've grown up on or, what you have. Oftentimes...
Possibly you were poorly raised.
Sorry, Mom. I think sometimes you have a little bit of what we've talked about before, confirmation bias of growing up in a household.
Yeah, I can see that.
So...
if you're in a Pepsi household,
exactly.
I see that.
They just don't buy Coke, and you've become acclimated.
Maybe you were in a Star Wars household.
Exactly, and those are preferences and tastes that then carry forth beyond your just typical family preferences into the future preferences that you have. Because you're used to that. I think there is an alternative, and one hot topic area would be, I think, politics. Usually, people talk about Democrats and Republicans. They don't talk about any other options there. It's one or the other. And if you grow up in a household, let's say that's Democrat, you are either going to be hardcore Democrat or you're going to be hardcore Republican in defiance of that household. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one of those situations that I think that you have a little bit more influence by family. Coke and Pepsi and stuff like that. But I don't think anybody's like, I've been brought up in the Pepsi family and that's it. I'm drinking Coke for the rest of my life.
You do see that, though, with like Chevy and Ford.
Okay, like Defiance?
Chevy and Ford is like...
Or Allegiance.
Allegiance. Like, you're a Chevy family, you're a Chevy family. If you're a Ford family, you're a Ford family. But, that's a thing. I mean, that's... And,
so you were Chevy or Ford?
Raised Chevy, but we've kind of converted a little bit to a Ford family.
I've had a lot of vehicles in my day. But one of the newer vehicles, like when I had a choice to actually go make a purchase that was not the worst vehicle ever, wasn't brand new. My first was a Chevy, and my second was a Ford. It wasn't like I went to look for a specific vehicle. I didn't have a brand allegiance. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just don't get that. I don't get being so hardcore in your decisions about a particular thing.
Yeah.
You do? You think it's fine? Because you're on the side of fight to the death for it. I don't know if that's being satirical or you're just being...
I do think that there are like certain things that... maybe it's just like the competitiveness that I have, like the inborn competitiveness, the competitiveness I was raised with. But I just, like, I want to be the best. I want to be right. That type of feeling. And I think that's where these debates come...
I know exactly what that's like. I have a girlfriend. She's always right.
And I think that's where these debates come down to. You want to be like right, and you want people to like and think like you do. I mean, I think that's a natural human thing.
Yeah, and that confirmation bias. We want to surround ourselves with people that like stuff. And I mentioned before, like, oh, I've never seen this movie, and you're like, I hate you. You're dead to me. And I'm like, gosh, that's a big response for not having seen that.
Yeah.
But you want people to have those shared common interests.
Or just shared experiences.
Well, yeah. And for instance, you and I, we have a lot of shared experiences, but there's a lot of things we don't. Sports, certain movies, etc. We don't have any common ground. Comic books, for instance. I mean, you live and breathe comic books. I've never read one. And so, like, even though we have things that are different, we also have things that are similar. So it's okay to have that, I think. And, are you going to, like, slash my tires because I drink a different soft drink?
Have you looked at your car lately?
I don't know. Is it a Ford or a Chevy? I don't remember. What am I?
I think it's a Toyota.
Where's my allegiance?
You drive a Toyota, don't you?
Not quite.
Or is it a Ford?
I drive a Ford.
You do?
Yeah.
Ford Escape, right?
Yeah. And we're not endorsed by Ford, by the way.
I drive a Ford Edge.
There was such a...
So we agree on that.
There was such a pause between that they must be endorsing them or something. No, I mean, I drive the vehicle that I hopped in and had a good test drive, and it was okay. Yeah. And it's not to say that every other vehicle is terrible. It's just say I prefer this one. I think I get more... It's weird, and I don't know if this is something that you experience, but sometimes things that don't matter, and things that matter don't matter. Like,
I would agree.
Where you get caught up on these little things like, well, if you don't drink Pepsi, then you're the worst human on the planet. But when it comes down to, like, I don't know, something about, like, life, love, health, politics, financial situations, like, it's like, whatever. Okay, you're completely different.
Well, it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, I heard that Hitler liked Pepsi. Like if you could like come up with a list of the things that Hitler liked, would that make him so unpopular that you wouldn't have those debates anymore? Like Hitler was one of the founders of Chevrolet.
Wow. The comments and suggestions John makes on the show are not the viewpoint of this show or me or anybody else associated with it, John. No, I mean, like, I think that, and I might be wrong here because I'm trying to piece this together. And what you said, I think, is an interesting point. You said, this is something you want to surround yourself with people with shared experiences and likes. Okay. Do you think it's easier to change my soft drink preference or my religion? Do you think it's easier to change my like of Star Trek versus Star Wars and which one, or my political affiliation? And I think people grab onto the things that are easier to possibly change or manipulate. Yeah. And so they avoid those big topics because they're like, well, I can't be right or wrong with that. If I disagree about that, it's over. Mm-hmm. But I think I can get away with saying I won't be your friend unless you like Coke or something. Yeah. Do you think I'm onto something? Do you think I'm the smartest boy on the planet?
I can see where you're coming from there. Yeah, you gravitate to the things that are like easier to convince somebody of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I might be able to get you to try a different type of cheese, but I might not be able to, like, I don't know.
Well, I try
any to invest in a different stock.
I'll try any kind of cheese.
Period.
Because cheese is delicious.
Yeah, I don't really venture into the stinky cheeses like the Brie and stuff like that. I don't really.
Limburger.
Soft cheeses, I think, are like, I don't know, like,
okay.
Like I don't know. I think I'm okay with a little bit of moldy milk, but when it's spreadable, it almost seems rancider.
Like it's not.
Yeah, like it's
not really cheese.
Yeah, when you go in the fridge, if it looks like curdled milk, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
Because it just.
Are you a cottage cheese fan?
Not really. I don't like soft
I love
cheese.
Me some cottage cheese.
Yeah,
love it.
Well, you know who liked cottage cheese?
Hitler.
John, why do you got to keep going back to Hitler? Anyway, can you think of any other big verses?
Well, I think one of the classic ones that I think people have kind of debated for quite a while. Well, maybe just in my mind, but Betty versus Veronica.
Okay.
With Archie Comics, Betty and Veronica.
And this is a comic book.
Well, but come on, you got to be familiar with Betty and Veronica.
I know of them, but I don't know which side to choose to make you like me. I can't even fake it.
What do you got? I mean, like, I think there's been debates about like Rebecca or Diana Cheers. You've got some of those classic like pop culture pairings, like the love triangles that have always been questioned. There's the Batman versus Superman, who would win in a fight, that type of thing.
Well, I think I look more at things that are in similar alignments. And I'm going to go to movies and TV because I'm more familiar with it. But when you look at things that are similar, even video games. So Smurfs versus Snorks. Pokemon versus Digimon.
Yep.
Like those types of pairings, they're really similar in nature. And in fact, you might even say one is a knockoff of the other. Or I think it's called duplicity, maybe? That's a term. Where, I mean...
Similar things,
they can exist at the some time, and they can happen naturally without having been copied. But it's just that you gravitate towards
the correct answer is Smurfs.
It is Smurfs. Period.
Yeah.
You like the Snorks, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
No, you can like the Snorks. It's okay.
I kind of like the Snorks, but
I
let's say a battle to the death between the Smurfs and the Snorks. The Snorks definitely have like water supremacy, but the Smurfs beat them in every other field of battle.
Well, yeah, so home turf. If the home game is the first game for the Snorks, they've killed the Smurfs.
Well, I don't know about that, though, because, I mean, the Smurfs have a pretty good division of labor where Papa runs a pretty tight ship. And they'd have a Smurf that
You know what? Papa runs a pretty tight village. He doesn't have a ship. He doesn't have a submarine. They're going to drown. And here's the thing.
There'd be a submarine Smurf that had spent his life.
No. And here's the thing, John.
And a torpedo Smurf.
Here's the thing, John. You would imagine that they would have, like, nurses and doctor Smurfs and medic Smurfs, right? They wouldn't even know who was dying because they're already blue. They wouldn't even know that they were running out of oxygen. So they would just perish, period. But, okay, so that's like...
I think Papa's smart enough, though, to bring that battle to land.
I think he could, but that's what I was talking about.
Or he'd use magic to turn the water into acid or something.
Wow.
He'd go dark.
He'd
go full Gargamel.
Ooh, that's...
Talk about a twist there. What if Papa Smurf is Gargamel?
Or maybe working for him.
Yeah.
Or maybe Gargamel's like puppet. Like he's puppeted by Gargamel. Okay, so I'm gonna glaze over that for a second. I'm picturing Snorks being eaten alive by hydrochloric acid. I mean, that's just the most disturbing.
What would go first? Do you think the little straw on their head?
Well, that's I think where they breathe in, right? Or maybe not.
I think it might be where they breathe out.
Oh,
because that's where the bubbles sometimes they push air out of them.
Wow, for somebody that doesn't like the Snorks, you sure know a lot about them.
Well, you have to know your enemy.
When it comes to things that are tangible, I'm okay with liking something and having you like something different. Cheeses, you know what? Go ahead. Eat all of your cottage cheese. I'll eat all the manchego because it's more for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't need you to share in the wealth of that because I'll have more of my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you like Chevy and I like Ford, I get more of a choice when I go buy one.
Yeah.
You know, because you didn't already buy it. So I think sometimes people can just live and let live because they're selfish. And that's what I like to do.
Because you're selfish.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other versus Saturday Night Live versus Mad TV.
See,
is that
I don't know if that's like
thing?
See, they're comparable, but I don't know if there's much of a debate there.
Yeah, completely.
Because I mean, Mad TV did have some good seasons, some good characters. But holy cow!
It's just a squeak noise.
Are you Stuart there?
Oh, I love Stuart. Here's the thing. I think, and this is getting way too deep into SNL. Let's not do that. But I think SNL used to be great. I think it's gotten less great in the future.
Yeah.
When Mad TV came out, it was actually refreshing because it was, I don't know, like different characters and different actors. It wasn't, even though they had different people on SNL, it felt the same. And so I liked some of the characters.
And I think it made SNL raise their game.
Oh, yeah. Because Stuart on Mad TV, Miss Swan. I always like the I don't know, the lady, she was like really tan and she'd go to like the salad bar. She's like, moisture. And she'd need, I don't know, she was fun. Like, they had a lot of really good characters. And the thing about that show that I liked is the characters were so good that the show was almost completely revolved around recurring characters.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, they would add 1 or 2 characters a season because it was so, like, the recurring characters were so good. Whereas, like, SNL would be like, oh, you know, every 10 episodes we'd bring 1 character back randomly, you know? But it wasn't like, they didn't have enough that it was like, oh, that's a one and done. Let's move on to the next joke, or let's try a different character. So I think that's something to say about Mad TV.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what about Kids in the Hall, Little Britain? Like, there's a bunch of different sketch comedy shows.
Kids in the Hall was good. Did you ever see the show The Whitest Kids You Know?
No, I did not.
That was a great show.
Was it?
That's a bunch of Canadian guys too.
Oh, Canadian. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a good debate. And then I also think you get into like generational debates. Like we've talked about remakes before, like Willy Wonka versus the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know, I think it's so hard to compare stuff like that. But people get in the camp of like it's this or death, like, and they get so invested. And I don't know why that is. I just can't wrap my head around it anymore. Like I get further away from understanding it. Why do you have to hate, John? Why do you have to hate the hearts of people?
Because some things are good and some things are bad. And some bad things ruin good things.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, fine, it is, John. You
some
are
good
bad
things
and you
are
ruin me.
Some good things.
I'm a good thing.
Some things are objectively bad.
I don't. Okay, give me an example of a versus where the other thing was terrible. Like, I mean, bad. And then I want to see, does it fit my category of quality, which really doesn't make a fair match? That's my argument, is that if you have something that's so bad, I mean, quantitatively bad, if you compare A car and B car, and A car has a 90% rating on crash testing, and the other one has a 10%, there is a distinct difference. But when you're talking of, relatively similar, I don't think it's as big of an issue.
I'm trying to think of like because there have been some notoriously awfully bad movie remakes.
Okay.
And comparing them to the original.
And see, that could get into that generational thing that I'm talking about. Because, like, I did not dislike the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, as an example. Okay. I thought it was okay. Sarah hated it. She was not liking that or whatever. But I thought it was okay. We're trying to do something.
That's because there was CGI in it, though, correct?
And, yeah, there was CGI. Yeah. She doesn't like that. But there was a part of CGI I hated in the movie. It was at the very end of it. But I thought, in general, they did a good job not making it a direct copy, a direct duplication of the original, a line-by-line remake, kind of making it their own, but also they took more from the original source material and stuck closer to the book than, the Gene Wilder version did. So I think kudos to them for doing that. They weren't trying to surpass or replace Gene Wilder and that version of the film. Mm-hmm. They were trying to do something on their own. I think that's okay. I think that's respectable. If you screw it up, and people don't like you because it was bad on your own merits. It could be a bad movie because it has, the acting's not good or the sets aren't good, the makeup aren't good. But don't say it's bad because it's not the old one. I don't think that's a valid argument. I really don't.
Oh, well, no, but I do think that, and now that I'm being put on the spot, I'm having a hard time coming up with an example of one, but I know that there have been times where I've been like, first of all, why did they remake that movie? And second of all, they totally destroyed it and ruined it. But I can't. Obviously, that argument means nothing because I can't come up with the exact example.
Wow.
But I know it's happened.
Yeah, it's happened. It's there. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a winner. That's the John Odermann winner.
No, but Josh, I feel like maybe you're being a little too nice.
Am I?
About the objectivity / subjectivity argument here? Because, I think you would argue that there are things that are objectively and subjectively better than other things.
Well, I like...
But you're taking this weird stance of to each his own.
Well, I do say that. We've said this as a moral of every show we've ever done. Like, you do you and live and let live, and we have that kind of mentality. I'm okay. We debate a lot of things.
Live and let live, but live and let live is also about let the person be wrong.
Let the person be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an example where I feel I was a little bit more Odermann-esque about how I thought about something.
Okay, all right.
When we talked about King Kong, right?
Yeah, yep.
We talked about King Kong, and I said, I just really hated the other King Kong. It's okay to have an opinion, but I'm allowing you to like that version if you like it.
Yeah, I'm allowing you to be wrong.
Oh, it's not about right or wrong. It's about just allowing that person to have their own opinion. I think that there are some things that by morals and standards. So let's say as an example, I say, my opinion is it's okay to murder people. Well, by law standards and by ethical standards, and we're talking about a large group of people. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a large group, 10, 20, 30% of the population say, yes, killing people is great, yeah. Let's eat them as well, bonus points. You're going to find a smaller group. So, by and large, your opinion, though you're entitled to it, is kind of wrong. And wrong in multiple senses.
So you're agreeing with me?
No, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm saying that in very few instances where you can actually bring an ethics and morality of an entire planet of individuals. But I don't know that you have the same people power behind you. I don't think you can say the entire planet loves Coke more.
Well, I'm sorry that you don't think that there's an ethical imperative there between in the Coke versus Pepsi debate.
Just you know what, John? I'm gonna pour you a nice bubbly glass of Coca-Cola, and I want you to drink it, and I want you to slip slowly into a nice, relaxing state. I'm not saying I did anything to the Coke, but we'll see who wins this argument of Coke versus Pepsi.
When I don't wake up.
Ladies and gentlemen, shh, John's sleeping now. We'll see you next time on Pop Culture Problem.